Thank you.
Thank you. October is the month that specializes in fear. Hissing cats, vampires, and season 6 of The Walking Dead. Fear does two things. It gets our attention, and it shapes our behavior. And when it keeps us out of danger, it's our friend. That's the good part of fear. But when it keeps us from meeting our full potential, it must be silenced. Psychologists tell us that there are 5 universal fears. The first is humiliation. It's that terrible loss of dignity and self-respect. It's a purely emotional fear. It has nothing to do with any physical danger. Now, humans are made for connection. We're interconnected and we're interdependent. We need each other. Did you know that a broken heart can put you into cardiac distress? This is why number 2 fear is separation. I took this picture in Birmingham, Alabama. It celebrates and commemorates the Children's Crusade for Civil Rights in 1963. The third fear we fear is loss of autonomy, when you can't go about your life as you see fit. And these children were unafraid of loss of autonomy by being put in jail because they were already under a loss of autonomy from Jim Crow. The fourth fear is the fear of mutilation. Now, our ancestors were mostly afraid of being mauled by wild beasts, right? That mutilation. Advertisers have taught us to equate age with mutilation because they want to sell us cosmetics and hair dyes and plastic surgery. And of course, the fifth universal fear is death. Now, the good news here is that people who live a life of service, as they approach their death, they have the reassurance that their legacy lives on beyond them. So you see, the 5 universal fears range from entirely emotional to entirely physical. And loss of autonomy is right in the middle, a little bit of both. Now, earlier, I told you that fear has a useful purpose in our life, but only when we recognize the danger that it seeks to prevent us from encountering. So, for example, last year, more people died taking selfies than died from shark attacks. But nobody really believes that, right? So we're not going to stop taking selfies. But the statistics are true. Now, who in this room is afraid of white-tailed deer? Nobody. Until perhaps I tell you that in 2013, 191 motorists in America died from deer strikes. All right, so speaking of cars, why is it that we're not afraid of what we can do with these massive, powerful vehicles when we take our hands and eyes off the road and text and drive? Here's the answer. Remember how I told you about the fear of separation? Well, when we're texting, we're expecting something good from the person that we're texting with. And our brain gives us a little shot of dopamine when we get that. And so our fear of missing out on that interaction actually overrides the fear that we could smash into something or somebody. We use fear like a set of longhorns on each other to keep each other at bay and to keep each other in line. So let's talk about fear in the two areas of our lives where we spend most of our time. In our intimate relationships, right, we use fear to try to get people to do what we want them to do, or I won't love you. We say that implicitly and explicitly. We even bring mythical beings into our families for 6 weeks out of the year to use humiliation to keep our kids in line. If you're not a good little boy, Santa is not going to bring you presents, right? All right. We're better than this, people. We are better than this. Everyone needs help and support being the best that they can be, and fear has no place in that endeavor. Now, let's talk about the second place we spend most of our time, at work. We use fear in all its ways to try and get ahead because that's all that matters at work. And it leaves everyone feeling trampled in the process. Here's what happens when fear gets a grip in the workplace. Just last week, at the Air France meeting, workers stormed the annual meeting and literally ripped the clothes off of senior executives because they had proposed a dramatic restructuring plan with a lot of layoffs. Now, before you write this off as all things French with a roll of the eyes, you need to remember that in the United States, the number 4 cause of occupational injury is workplace violence. It's happening right here. So, what can we do about this? Take a personal vow not to use fear as a weapon. When you're interviewing someone for a job, for example, don't ask them, "What's your greatest fear?" Because what you're really doing when you do that is you're telling them, this is a scary place to work, right? And they're not going to answer it legitimately anyway. They've got a canned answer, and you're not going to get the truth. Fear walks with us in every aspect of our lives, and it's a good thing when it keeps us out of danger. But when it makes us feel small, uninspired, unloved, and imprisoned, it must be silenced. So I want you to take your hand, place it over your heart, and make a vow. I will not use fear as a weapon. Let me hear you. I will not use fear as a weapon. Rock on.